Appalachian Clubhouse was built in, the land was deeded from the Little River Railroad Company to the Appalachian Club in 1910. The structure actually is pretty grand. There's an event going on, so I can't go up to take you to inside. But you'll notice that there's some giant chimneys inside the Appalachian Clubhouse. The land was deeded to an elite class of people. And those elite people stayed and built these cabins behind us. Most of the cabins that we see here today were built between on Daisytown, or this area, were built between 1910 and 1915. Though at the time they were built, they originally didn't have kitchens. In fact, most of the people that would ride the Elkmont Special here, they would get off the train at the Appalachian Clubhouse Depot, which is at the end of the road at the stop sign here. You could then meet some porters who would take your luggage to your cabin or to your hotel room at the Appalachian Clubhouse. It was a big deal to actually get off at the Appalachian Clubhouse and stay here. I'm going to pass that here. The clubhouse had a dining hall. Imagine in your mind a big spacious room with two giant fireplaces. The tables were covered in linens. There were waiters that would come and serve you your meals. You would be served breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. And you wore your family's finest, because at the Appalachian Clubhouse, you were expected to dine in formal attire. You could show up and hear and see performances such as orchestras even playing music. So it was a big to-do. Most of these cabins, like I said, were built between 1910 and 1915, as well as the Appalachian Clubhouse itself. However, at the time, it was mainly businessmen from Knoxville and other cities in the surrounding area. The Appalachian Clubhouse also didn't allow everyone into the club. So if you weren't part of the Appalachian Clubhouse in 1912, they built another clubhouse. You might have seen a pull-off along the road for it, for the Wonderland Hotel. The Wonderland Hotel said or asked people to come and visit to enjoy an array of different outdoor activities: horseback riding, mountain climbing, fishing, and swimming in the streams, much like people still do here in Great Smoky Mountains today. However, the Carter brothers, who owned it, actually bought 3,000 lots. They were actually going to develop it, but instead it just became a clubhouse. At the time, even the governor of Tennessee couldn't get a membership with the Appalachian Club, so he ended up staying at the Wonderland Hotel. What was interesting, though, was that they deemed it as a great place, that Elkmont was a great place to come hunt and fish. But at the time, there wasn't much hunting to be done, because the railroad companies had removed most of the logs. There wasn't habitat for even bears at the time. There was just kind of logging slash that was left behind. However, most people came to still spend time in the streams and trying to do some fishing. However, runoff from that logging even affected the streams as well. Let's take a step over here. It wasn't just, well, let me ask you this. So who used Elkmont at the time? Who were the people that were visiting it? Everyday tourists? They were rich, affluent businessmen for the most part. But there's another side to this story as well. Did anyone see the servants' cabin behind the Trenham place? It had a little sign. The servants' cabin was because most people came with people to assist them, to move them into their cabins, to provide nannies as childcare, or to provide meals for them here at the Appalachian Clubhouse. But one gentleman came up here with his father, Actually, can I borrow this box? If you have your, while I'm getting this ready, if you have your clipboard, if you'll pass it around this way, we'll put the clipboard back in there. I'll take laminates here. But I want to give you a different perspective of Elkmont from a gentleman by the name of Ron Davis. Ron Davis spent his summers and his falls here in the Elkmont area. Give me 1 second. Let me turn up some volume here so you can hear. Ron Davis's father, Ron Davis lived with his family in Knoxville. He was a butler for the Mabin family. And I'm going to let you listen to his story of living in Elkmont. He spent his summers preparing the cabins and getting them ready with his dad.
Dad was all the way outdoors. Like I said, as scoutmaster, going as a part of his job for the Mabin family, he would have to go to Elkmont every spring to open up a cabin. And as we got older and big enough so that we could help him, he would take us with him to the cabin, and we would just help him clean it up, do whatever we could to help Dad get it all done. But then, in Elkmont, and this would have been in the late 1950s when I was a small child, and it carried over through high school for me. And really, the family maintained ownership of the cabin until the early 90s when the parent took over the ownership of the cabins back. But going to the Elkmont and being in the mountains was a huge influence on me and my career choice. Dad, during lunch breaks, in the evenings after we would finish work, Dad would let us go fish Jake's Creek, which was directly behind the cabin, and I could literally just pitch a rock to it. It was that close. And so we would fish the creek. We were right at the end of the road that was the main thoroughfare through Elkmont and into the residential, the cabin areas. And their cabin was the last cabin at the end of that driveway, at the end of that street. So there was a chain up along the road, and the trail would start right at the front of their cabin that you could hike back into the mountains and into along Jake's Creek, and so we would do some hiking as well. That was obviously an influence, a huge influence on my career choice. But Jim, muscular built, strong as an ox, and I had never seen him cry. But Dad was so touched by the celebration of his birthday that he cried. And I had never seen that, and I was probably high school age at that point. But I had never seen him cry, and I saw him cry during that occasion, and that just touched my heart. And he started boo-hooing when they saw Dad cry, because we had just never seen that emotional side of Dad like that, because he was a very traditional, manly guy, and we just never saw that in him. So, interestingly, even though we would see deer, can't remember seeing any bear. We saw bear signs. We saw dropping. We saw, didn't have them back in those early days, but then later, a lot of signs of wild boar, wild hogs. So a lot of that. So that was stand out. But that birthday celebration that we had for Dad, and to see him get emotional, that stood out in my memory. You know, it really did. Really did.
Yeah, so he definitely...
Sorry to get emotional.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
It's okay. Yeah, and he, it seemed like the entire family had this emotional connection to Elkmont.
yeah.
And it was built over time.
Absolutely.
You know?
Very strong.
Yeah.
Strong emotional connection to Elkmont. And it was just, it was, for us, it was like being in a wonderland. Or it was like being in the best place you could ever want to go to. Just scenic, beautiful, and as I previously shared, those roots of enjoying the beauty of that, the scenery and everything, instilled in me that desire to want to have a career doing something in environmental, natural resource, forestry, wildlife related at a young age. I just didn't know I could make a living doing something that I had a passion for like that. And to get a job at TVA right out of high school in their forestry, fisheries, and wildlife division opened my eyes to an opportunity to have a career in a field that I love, that I have.
The generation, but it's also the story of the people here today. The story of the people who still continue to come and swim in the creeks and dip your toes in the freezing water. The story of people who want to continue to hunt and fish here, or well, not hunt, but want to come and fish and hike here. It's the story of the breeze blowing through the trees, the dappled light and shadows that we see as we walk along trails. But it's also the story that we pass on to our future generations. It's the story that you are making here today. So I will leave you with this question, and that is, what will be the story of this place as we pass it on to the future? What will be the change that you make as we move forward here today? What will we be protecting for our future generation?
Bears.
Bears? I hope so. I hope so. Thank you for spending some time here with a ranger today. We hope you have a wonderful day and you continue to learn more about Great Smoky Mountains National Park and continue to enjoy the history here in Elkmont and Daisytown here today. I will tell you, there is an event that we might be able to learn a little bit more about. If you were here 20 years ago, these cabins would have been falling down, the roofs falling in, the floors falling down. There's a special group of people that they're having lunch right here today, our historic preservation crew, that have worked tirelessly to restore 19 historic buildings here in Elkmont today so that we can continue to tell the story of the place as it moves forward, as we build upon the new. The group of gentlemen standing right at the truck here are our historic preservation crew. They often use
Forever Places program, which is the ones that pretty much restored all the structures that you walked down through earlier. For those of you that have little ones, or even if you're an adult and you pick up one of these, this is specifically for the Great Smoky Mountains National Park Junior Ranger Handbook, and there is an actual...
We've done the scavenger.
Oh, you did? Well, then I won't say any more about that. But anyways, the scavenger hunt, I created it while we were working on the structures. And then as you come back here in our displays, the first table has an assortment of tools, axes and things like that. And this book will be laying there, and if you want to see or look at more of what we have back there, this book is labeled for specific things that you're going to see back there and can answer some questions. We're going to be be doing some hewing, some making some shakes, working on windows and things like that. So just stroll around, ask these guys any questions, and this is what we do when we're not working on those things.